Hey everyone, Livy here, back once again with another video for Dressing Crescent Dreams Tarot. Today I am back with another one of my Minor Arcana themed tags. This one I am calling Severe Swords. It's where we talk all about the swords and which ones are our favorites. Or in this case for this video, of course, my favorites. And let me say, out of all the Arcana so far, I feel like the swords were, they were like the lowest hanging fruit. They were very easy to find. They were really easy to find cards for, and multiple cards for, and cards that I could have liked more than another. But in the end, I went with the choices I'm going to show. But it was very, very easy compared to the cups, even compared to the wands. It was very easy to find sword cards. And I think my theory is deck creators, or creators in general, it's easier to depict pain than it is to depict happiness. Like, for instance, the cups are all about emotions, right? It's about good things and friendship and new relationships and etc. But that can be hard to want to depict something good with or something interesting with. Whereas things that are painful topics, like the swords, like the mental state, like the things that could happen to your mind, that can be much more difficult to want to deep dive into. But oh, and I have coffee, so let me take a sip. Okay, and let's dive into it. Obviously, to start off, the swords. I have the ace. I have two aces. Well, okay, I just realized I think pretty much all these cards have, like, at least two. Because, again, low-hanging fruit. Found a lot of examples. But let's start with the ace. So, for the Ace of Swords, I have two swords from Tarot of the Divine and the Lord of the Rings Tarot. This one is more just because I love the artwork of this Ace of Swords. I love that it's the sword that was broken and is getting mended, I believe. It looks like that sword, at least. It's cutting through the bullshit and cutting through the darkness. So I thought this was a good honorable mention. But this is no doubt my favorite Ace of Swords ever. Because, for those who don't know, this is the Gordian Knot. And if you know anything about the Gordian Knot, right, it was a problem that Alexander the Great had to face. And in the end, he was smart enough to go, why do I need to untangle this knot? I could just cut it in half. And that's what he does. He cut the knot and solved the problem of the Gordian Knot. And that's really what the aces are. I mean, not just the aces, but the swords in general are all about. Is cutting through the bullshit and finding the solution that's going to actually work for you. You don't have to sit here forever trying to untangle this knot. You could just cut it and have your problem solved. So, I think this is quite possibly the best depiction you could ever show, really, of the Ace of Swords in general. So, yeah, that's why it's my favorite. Now, the next two, for the Two of Swords, I feel like this one is, the typical image of the Two of Swords is to show the person holding swords up to their own throat, to show that, well, it's a problem that you're having in your mind, right? But I liked these two depictions much better to show that. I mean, in this case, the person, this is for the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, this person's hands are still tied, okay, fine. But their hands are also knotted. And they are in a stalemate. This is easy to see. They're in a stalemate with themselves. it's not as severe as having two swords up to your own neck, but you're still knotted together in a stalemate, and it's hard to tell how you're going to be able to free your hands, but you need to. You need to uncross them, and you need to find a way to get over your problem. And I like how it's showing that here. But I also thought this was a good honorable mention for the practical magic because I like the keyword analysis paralysis. It's not knowing what to do. It is still your own hands crossing over you. And it can be hard to come to a decision about what to do. So that's why I also included this one. Now, you know what I just realized? Oh, give me 1 second. I'm going to quickly disappear. I am going to show these two, but I'm also going to pull out the other one. I realized, just in this moment, to show the Three of Swords, these two are cool ones that I found, but I'm going to be that honest, basic bitch who says that my favorite Three of Swords is actually the one from the Rider-Waite-Smith, but particularly this one. So give me 1 second. This deck, for those, I haven't really showed it much because, I mean, who that often, if they're being really honest, is working with the Rider-Waite-Smith on a regular basis? I can tell you with certainty that I am not. This is the Modern Hue Tarot. My favorite depiction of the Three of Swords is actually, if I can ever find it. I love how I stepped away from, oh, here we go. My favorite that I've ever seen is this one. It's the typical Rider-Waite-Smith heart, but I love the colors of this one. I love the water effect. I just love the sorrow and pain that's depicting, and this is the traditional, right? This is a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith depicting of the Three of Swords. But these were two interesting runner-ups for the three, because they're still showing that same depth of heartbreak and despair. Like this is gnarly. This is also from the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. I mean, look at all these daggers that are just pushed into this person and two knotted hands. The pain of that. You know, it's brutal, but it's one of the, most interesting depictions of the Three of Swords I've ever seen. And this one, too, I thought was interesting because you still get the swords, but you see the sorrow up above coming down into this pool of what, right? Is it the universe? Is that the depths of their sadness? It's hard to say. But from the Starseeker Tarot, I thought this was a really interesting depiction of the Three of Swords. Which is why I wanted to highlight it, right? More coffee. Sorry about that. Oh, Jesus. Okay, sorry. Really sorry. Now I'm on to the Four. And this is the card that's, I think, easy for a lot of people to remember because the Four of Swords is the card of rest. It's telling you to take it easy, take a break, stop. And obviously, when I see this card, normally it's usually shown with somebody going to sleep in a bed, which I thought is boring. And I thought that these two were the most interesting. Once again, practical magic. I'll start with this one. This is what it feels like to be in this Four of Swords moment. Stop thinking for a moment. You want to not exist. You want your face to be covered up. And you want nothing left to be of you. It is very simple. But this is what it means to want rest. Where you don't even feel like you exist anymore. That's what it really feels like when you're in a Four of Swords moment, in my opinion. And that's why I liked this one. How simple it was, but how effective it is in getting the message across. But I also thought from the mini Oak, Ash, and Thorn, I thought this was a really interesting Four of Swords, and there's a reason why, okay? It's just beautifully depicted, for one, of this little crow sleeping on a sword. And there are the Four Swords. But the reason why I thought this was a really interesting Four Swords is where the crow is sleeping, right? Because where it's sleeping is in a position where this crow could topple over at any given moment. They wake up, they startle, they could fall crashing into the other ones, they could fall off the tree. Anything could happen. This is rest, but it's a temporary rest. And this is a rest where you know it might not heal all your problems, you know. And sometimes that's what this card is all about, which is why I wanted to pick out this one to show. And I lied. Okay, this one only has one. This ended up being my favorite 5. I'm showing a lot of this deck too, I realize. So I guess I'm really digging it right now, which is great. This is the Practical Magic again. Only one of the 5 of Swords. I felt like this was the best card to depict the situation that this card can highlight. Because of the keyword and just what is shown, it makes a lot of sense in my mind. The 5 of Swords, and it's also easiest for me to start remembering it in a way, because I don't know why. Like I said, 5 of Swords, 5 of Wands, for some reason I always mix them up. But this one says, you win, someone loses. This is a Pyrrhic victory. It's a football game. It's knowing that you're watching your team, and you're cheering them on, but on the other side of this field, maybe, there's equally people who are going to lose. When you win, someone else has to lose. And that's what this card is about. And this is my card of the month, by the way, if you guys are tuning in. At least for April. I don't know when this will come out, so maybe it'll still be in April. But yeah. You win, someone loses. 5 of Swords. Next. For the 6, I have 2. One of them, I don't know what it is about this one that interests me. This one I need to talk a little bit more about, but let's start with this. This 6 of Swords comes from the Yonasa Yao 7th edition. There's something about her. I don't know why. She's really interesting. She's pregnant, and I feel like the choice to make a better life that this card can talk about is the fact that she needs to make a decision so that she can move on in her life and have this child in peace. That's the vibe I get from this card. There's no guidebook for this one, so you kind of got to make your own conjecture here. But that's why I like this one. The difficult choice of this potential warrior of the past is you need to leave those ways behind you so you can birth what's coming, you know? Whereas this 6 of Swords, once again from the Tarot and the Divine, this one is interesting because this is a story of Perseus, right? This is a part of the tale that if people don't know much about Greek mythology, they're not aware of. But Perseus was cast away at sea with his mom. And they had to try to find a place to be. They had to leave. They had to make their own way in the world because everybody wanted them dead. I think this is a great way to show that you can leave your painful past behind you, but still one day rise to become, what, a hero? Even if the hero is misguided. I mean, I say misguided because there's a whole thing with Medusa, but I'm not going to touch that with a 20-foot pole right now. Anyways, you could still end up the hero to somebody. You could still make a difference later if you leave and make the life that you need to now. Which I thought was a really cool way to show this, you know, to talk about it. Next. I feel like this deck is getting shown a lot too, but you know what? I have 3 for the 7, and I didn't think I would, but the 7 is, now I'm starting to realize that the 7 in particular versus the 7 of Wands, because those were also ones for some reason I always mixed up, but the 7 of Swords is the deception card. It's somebody who's not being truthful, and it's going to come to light. It's usually external to, you know, something that happens to you. But you could be the 7 of Swords. It's just not, I don't think, what that card's about. I have 3. And I wanted to highlight them for different reasons. This is the Nicoletta Ciccoli mini. This deck is a very strange deck in general. I didn't think I was going to highlight anything from Nicoletta Ciccoli, but this 7 gets me. This is the only, as far as I remember, this is the only boy that's depicted anywhere in the deck. And the idea is she's innocently going about her way, but this mofo cloud is going to just do something. Going to do something awful. And you get the vibe here. He is trouble. He is going to do something. And the scariest part of this card is you don't know what. Right? It's not showing you what. It's just, you could tell that he's watching her. And it's creepy in that way. But that's why it's like it was interesting to see and depict and understand in that way. This one I just like from Tarot Divine. Again, this one I just like because this is Coyote. I figure a lot of people don't know that much stuff about Native American, indigenous, like, cultures. That's okay. The only reason why I know about this story, too, is because when I was in university, one of the professors was indigenous. Specifically, I think it was Miwok. But Coyote is in a lot of different indigenous cultures in America and otherwise. In the tales, Coyote is a trickster. You could think of him kind of like Loki. And he's just a fun image to show. He's trying to take all these dives at once, but Coyote's gonna get caught because he never quite wins it out. This is just a fun image, and I like talking about him because it's just, you know, it's something different. You wouldn't know the story, or a lot of people don't know the story, but I wouldn't even know the story, right, if I didn't get lucky with who was a professor, who was teaching what at the time, you know, explaining these things to people. And finally, this is probably, though, the best 7 of Swords. And I'm going to explain why for those who don't know. This is from the Wonderworld Tarot. This is quite possibly the best 7 of Swords you could ever show, because this is the walrus who's eating these poor little oysters. He deceives them. He tricks them. If you don't know the story of Alice in Wonderland or seen any bits of it, even the movie version and otherwise, right, because this is the movie version for sure, he tricks them. He gets them to go and leave their home so that they would get eaten by him and the carpenter. It's sad. But it's the clearest depiction of the 7 of Swords, isn't it? Right? Like, someone deceives you and you get duped. What are you gonna do? You know? But obviously, the best way to show the 7, in my opinion. Next, 8. I only have 2 for this. No, I have 3. I lied. Yeah. Anyways, that's me today. This one is really just an honorable mention. I just really love the artwork of this 8 of Swords from the Dream Vision Tarot. That's why this is here. Literally no other reason. I just like the visuals. But these two are the interesting ones. Let's start with this little baby. This is from the Monsoon Tarot, mini, literal baby. The reason why I like this 8 of air in this case is because it still depicts the idea of the 8 without having to be the person who is wrapped up tight and can get out of their own binding, though. This 8 is in the same situation. They could get out of their trouble if they really wanted to. Yes, they could. They're on a branch that's off the edge of a cliff, and they could fall at any moment, except guess what? This figure has wings, right? They could fly. They just don't realize that they could fly away from their problem. They have the power to do it. They just don't realize it in that moment that they have the power. But this is a really cool depiction of the 8 of air, which is why I wanted to highlight it. And this one is more typical. This is the 8 of Swords from the Starseeker again. But the reason why I really liked this one is because there's an interesting ghost figure offering up the Ace Sword to the figure. They are giving them the power to get out. And that's also, sometimes it is another person who might offer you the chance to get out of your situation, you know? Which is why I thought this was also a really interesting 8. So, yeah, I wanted to share this one. Now, I'm going to start by saying, the next cards, let me just double check this. Yep, the next 2 cards also all have 3. And I think it's because the 9 and the 10 are one of the most painful cards in all the whole freaking tarot. So, you know, there's a lot to show, a lot that could be said. But let's start with the 9. These 9s. In particular, these 9s. Let's talk about this one first. So, you know, Tarot Divine one, there's a lot of them in this. But this is from the Prism of Visions Tarot. This 9 of Swords, by far, is always going to show how painful, how anxiety-inducing, and how, oh shit, this card can feel. Because the 9 of Swords is literally the anxiety card. It is, nothing's going to get worse than this kind of feeling. And in this case, this poor person is about to get eaten by this giant-ass bird. I think it's supposed to be like a giant goose or something. I really don't know. I always forget from this deck. But yeah, it's about to get eaten. And that's what it can feel like to be in the 9. I've gotten this card a lot. It's not great. But the Spacious Tarot's 9 of Swords also shows, you know, the depth of that pain, because this poor buddy is about to get eaten and taken away, or maybe not eaten, but like killed by these swords, and it's very scary, poor thing. But this is also what it feels like to be the 9 of Swords. Just the depths of pain and suffering. But by far, the 9 of Swords, once again from the Tarot Divine, is the biggest 9 ever to understand this. To understand, for those who don't have this deck, this is depicting the Oracle of Delphi talking to basically Oedipus's father and mother. And if anybody knows the story of Oedipus, he is, in crude words, basically, he is the original motherfucker. But the only reason why that happened is because his dad, right, was so filled with anxiety about the fact that the Oracle of Delphi said one day this baby is going to kill you and marry you and have sex with you. Gross, gross, gross. Yes, that would definitely make you feel anxious and want to, like, get rid of your child, which is, interestingly enough, the events that lead up to Oedipus's downfall to begin with. But the reason why this is such a good 9 is because it shows your anxiety can create worse situations and make things happen that wouldn't actually happen otherwise, This is kind of his own fault, but he doesn't know that, right? And that's what this card can be about too, is that, yeah, everything can seem like it sucks, but it might not actually suck. You might be creating your problem here. And that's why this card, the Knight of Swords, I always think of it as the anxiety card, And finally, the moment we're all waiting for, the most tragedy of the, tarot, the 10. These tens in particular. I just love this card for some reason. But this person going, I've had it up to here, and screaming, and like total destruction that follows of this for the practical magic. This is the 10. This is somebody who's about to go full rage mode and just destroy everything because everything sucks. That is the 10. And it's just a fun depiction of that. But these also highlight it. Once again from the Wonder World. Poor Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall and shattered. And I guess in this case was stabbed to death. This is the worst it'll ever get, But sometimes it's not just you. It's not just whatever pain you're going through. This is from Edmund Dulac. This 10 of Swords is showing that sometimes it's because someone has betrayed you. And so everything sucks and you are literally being assassinated. Like, that's also what the 10 can feel like, right? No one wants the 9. No one wants the 10. Who the hell ever wants him in a reading? You know what I mean? But this just shows the depth of betrayal and pain that somebody else did to you. And that's what the 10 can also be. Thank you all for tuning in for this. My interesting depictions of cards that I think best represented the sword suit. Probably the most painful of the suits, but in some ways also necessary. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you again next time with the last of the tags for this. I don't have to look in all my decks anymore. It'll be the Pentacles. Tune in next time for that. Bye, everyone.